And in general, we're finding we are now able to open stores in locations that prior to the pandemic we would have never entertained.
I want to talk about the later stages of private equity ownership, and of course that's where Jay McLaughlin is, 8 or 9 years under that ownership. How did things change from your perspective, Mary Ellen? Because without even asking you to tell us any secrets, it stands to reason that after nearly a decade, there might be a sale or an IPO. So how does that change your job?
I'm going to answer this one very delicately there, John. Although if anyone's interested, please take my card. We can talk later. It's super exciting because I think, as you mentioned before, this is sort of the third step for us, right? So the company for 40 years went, from stage 1, and then the last 8 years exploded in stage 2, and now what we're thinking about is, what does stage 3 look like under a new ownership potentially? What could we do and where could we go? So it's very exciting. It's very exciting for us to be thinking about it and be strategizing the next level of growth.
Jack, something that I am remembering from the early days is your focus on direct-to-consumer and, especially e-commerce. I mean, you were saying that, effectively, we could open a store and it would drive e-commerce sales. And you weren't so much into the wholesale thing. Under private equity ownership, is Chris and his team going to put more emphasis on wholesale just to find another sales channel?
Yeah, wholesale is definitely a big priority now. And I mentioned earlier, we started off doing some wholesale, and the brand actually became quite well known in Japan in the very early days, probably before most people had ever heard of it, even in New York. But wholesale is so much work, it's unbelievable. And you really need to be set up for it. You really need a whole apparatus to support it and to do a great job. I mean, I don't think we wouldn't want to do it unless we're going to do a great job of it. And to really service, especially international wholesale, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. And I know that's a priority for them now. We very fortunately, or maybe cleverly, or however you want to put it, we actually decided fall/winter 19 was going to be our last season of wholesale. So unlike many other small brands, when the pandemic hit, we didn't have a lot of wholesale accounts that were holding on to our goods and holding on to our money. Yeah. And I have a lot of friends who had brands who got very impacted by trying to do wholesale during the pandemic. But now it's going to be a priority again.